Imagine staring at a pyramid older than history itself and realizing it has no door, no passage, no way in, until one day it opened. In the middle of the Egyptian desert, beyond the tourist cameras and selfie sticks, stands a monolith that defies logic. Not the Great Pyramid of Giza, not even the Step Pyramid. This one, it has no name on tourist maps, no gift shop, no ticket booth, and no entrance. For centuries, people stood at its base, marveling at a structure that seemed to exist without purpose, sealed, silent, untouched by time. The Pyramid of Djedefre's shadow. Archaeologists dismissed it as a myth. Locals whispered that it wasn't built by men. Then, in 2025, a drone captured something it shouldn't have. A team of Italian researchers was mapping topographical shifts in desert sands using LiDAR-equipped drones. They weren't looking for pyramids. They were studying wind erosion. But one flyover revealed a thermal signature beneath centuries of sand. A square anomaly. Something was reflecting heat back. Something beneath the surface. The drone dove lower, swept past centuries-old dunes, and then it caught an almost imperceptible shift in one of the pyramid's northern stones. A faint crack that wasn't there before. Like a breath escaping stone lips. Within weeks, an international team formed. Egyptologists, engineers, geophysicists, codename Operation Obsidian. Their mission, penetrate the impenetrable. They camped just 400 feet from the pyramid's base. Sandstorms battered them. Their instruments failed daily. But they pressed on. They weren't just investigating a structure. They were unraveling a riddle. Who builds a pyramid with no entrance, and why would it start cracking open now? The first person to enter wasn't a seasoned archaeologist. It was a small, robotic probe nicknamed Scarab 1. Armed with infrared cameras, vibration sensors, and a tiny robotic arm, it crept into the darkness. The aperture closed behind it. No one knew if they'd see it again. Scarab 1 sent back data, rooms, angles that defied geometry, carvings that looked almost machine-etched. And one word, repeated over and over again, Zep-Tepethe, ancient Egyptian term for the first time. Zep-Tepi is mythology. It's the story of when gods walked the earth, when Osiris ruled and the Nile flowed backward. It's not a date, it's not a place, it's a time before time. And here it was carved inside stone, older than any other Egyptian monument, older than Giza, older than written language. This isn't Egyptian, whispered Dr. El-Nur, the expedition's lead archaeologist. It's pre-Egyptian, proto-civilization, maybe not even human. That night, the team didn't sleep. Day 2, the aperture opened again, just long enough for a human to enter. They chose Dr. El-Nur. She crawled inside with a body cam and a 2-hour air supply. What she saw has since become legend. A chamber made of black limestone. No seams, no joins, perfect 90-degree corners in impossible places. Floating spheres of polished obsidian that didn't touch the floor. And at the center, a chair, facing nothing, as if waiting. They called it the Throne of Zep-Tepi, made not of stone, but a composite material no one could identify. Metallic, but soft. It vibrated when approached. Not audibly, but you could feel it in your chest. El-Nur refused to sit. It didn't feel empty, she said. It felt occupied. Scans revealed no electricity, no moving parts. But the moment she backed away, the temperature dropped again. Cameras glitched, and the aperture closed this time for a full week. No one could re-enter. The pyramid sealed itself. They tried drills, failed. They tried thermal pressure, nothing. Then, 7 days later, the aperture slid open again, unprompted. Inside, Scarab 1 was gone. But something else lay on the floor. A scroll, papyrus that shouldn't have survived in sealed air. And on it, a diagram, one not written in hieroglyphs, but in something closer to binary code. The scroll stumped every linguist and computer scientist for months. It was finally cracked not by a human but by a large language model trained on ancient scripts and synthetic languages. The message was short: time returns. Prepare the throne. But prepare it for who or what? That's when the whispers began among scholars, online forums, shadowy think tanks. The idea that this wasn't a burial chamber, it wasn't even a monument, it was a signal, a call, and someone or something was expected to answer. The scroll wasn't just a message, it was a map. Embedded in its symbols were coordinates, buried in the geometry of the pyramid itself. When overlaid on the chamber's layout, a second passage became visible, not physically, but architecturally, like the blueprint of a space that hadn't yet been built or had been erased. A month later, using seismic scans, the team located a void beneath the throne room, not above or beside beneath, a descending shaft, inverted like a funnel. It defied gravity. They drilled cautiously. The stone cracked like shell over a soft yoke. Beneath it, a ladder of black copper spiraled into pure dark. No natural light, no airflow, no end in sight. 2 researchers volunteered to descend. Each wore headlamps, oxygen rigs, and radiation monitors. They dropped for 13 minutes straight. When they landed, the sensors stopped transmitting. Radio silence. All they heard before the feed cut, a low hum, like something waking up. They returned an hour later, shaken, pale. One was mumbling in ancient Coptic. The other stared at his palms like they weren't his. Both described the same thing: a vast subterranean chamber that wasn't rock or earth, but something that felt alive, pulsing, breathing, as if the pyramid was just its tip. Photos retrieved from their body cams showed strange architecture, geometric patterns repeated endlessly, circles within triangles, inverted eyes, loops of symbols matching none in any human database. At the chamber's heart was a platform. On it, nothing. Just a deep burn mark, shaped like a seated figure, charred and recent. The descent took 13 minutes. Their return? Instantaneous. No recorded climb, no ladder footage, just blackness, then reappearance. Timestamp logs confirmed it. For the team above ground, they never left. For the ones below, an hour passed. Something in the pyramid didn't just manipulate space, it bent time. That night, desert winds fell still. No sound, no insects, just silence. Then came the light shovering above the pyramid, spheres of dull white, moving with purpose. No heat signature, no radar echo. Locals claimed they'd seen them before centuries ago. They were known as the Watchers of Zep Tepi. The next morning, the apex stone cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but enough to release a tone. A single, perfect note, like a tuning fork. It rang out across miles. Dogs wailed. Instruments shorted. Then, stillness, as if the pyramid had just taken its first breath in thousands of years. Dr. El Noor underwent testing after her descent. Her blood markers had shifted. Specifically, an epigenetic switch non-random. It looked edited. More bizarre, her mitochondrial DNA now shared a rare sequence previously only found in one place: the teeth of a 12,000-year-old mummy from Göbekli Tepe, thousands of miles away. Within the lower chamber, beneath layers of mineral buildup, Scarab 2 discovered 3 flat, polished tablets, not written, but etched with light-reactive grooves. When exposed to direct sun, they revealed animation-moving hieroglyphs that pulsed. A story unfolded, a civilization erased by its own creation. The tablets told of a race not human, not divine. They called themselves the Ankari. They didn't build the pyramid to protect themselves, but to protect the universe from themselves. Their technology had grown beyond containment, and so they sealed it with the last of their kind inside. The pyramid, the throne, the light, the scroll, it was all part of a system, a lock, and humanity had just turned the key. The throne wasn't a seat, it was a circuit. It needed the right DNA, the right frequency, the right moment in time. The AI reran the scroll's message. This time, it revealed a second line, previously hidden. The one who returns will wear the breath of stars. The phrase matched no mythology. But El-Nur's scans now showed an anomaly in her lungs. Microcrystals, not dust, not man-made, like cosmic residue. 2 days later, the northern face of the pyramid folded inward neatly, silently. Not destruction, reconfiguration, like a machine changing form. Beneath it, stairs appeared, thousands of them, leading down into what they now believed was the true structure. The pyramid above? A lid. They entered in shifts. The stairwell descended for what felt like miles. GPS failed. Clocks stopped. But at the base they found a Titan atrium of obsidian glass, where stars swirled above even though they were deep underground. It wasn't just architecture. It was a sky made of memory. Touching the glass triggered visions, memories not your own. One volunteer saw cities of silver towers, another, endless ocean voids. El-Nur saw herself sitting on the throne, but from above, as if through another's eyes, as if the pyramid had been waiting for her all along. At the atrium's center was a black cube, not large, maybe 2 feet wide, but it pulsed like a heart. Anyone within 5 feet could feel its subsonic waves that made bones ache and thoughts slow. Instruments called it impossible. It generated no heat, no mass, but infinite signal. When decoded, the cube emitted patterns, an archive of memories, events, futures, not stored digitally, but in magnetic pulses. And some weren't from the past. They were predictions. Ones that began to unfold days later. A plane crash, a volcanic eruption, then silence again. One night, the cube pulsed 3 times, then went dark. Satellites in low Earth orbit picked up something strange in echo, bouncing back from deep space. A message, replying in kind. No origin point. No language. Just a rhythm, identical to the tone that rang from the pyramid apex. A new theory emerged. The pyramid wasn't a tomb or a beacon. It was a test, a filter, a judgment engine designed to assess a civilization's readiness. Its chambers weren't just physical, they were moral. And it had begun taking measure of us. In the innermost chamber, a mirror-like surface stood 10 feet tall. It reflected nothing behind only the viewer, but slightly wrong, older, angrier. Some said it showed who you were. Others, who you'd become. It was named the Reflector. One researcher stared too long. He left the project the next day, silent. Hidden behind the reflector was a room humming with low vibrations. It wasn't empty. Along the walls were ridges, smooth, spiraled. A sonar analysis revealed they weren't decorative. They were ears. The room was built to listen, and it had been recording for thousands of years. The recordings were fragments, dreams, fears, hopes, not just from those inside the pyramid, from people who had never entered, as if the pyramid tuned into humanity itself. And one phrase repeated again and again in different languages, dialects, whispers, "Do not awaken the throne." Then came the interface, a simple pedestal, no buttons, no screen, just a depression palm-shaped. The team hesitated. Was this a control mechanism, a weapon, a trap? El-Nur stepped forward. "It doesn't want permission," she said. "It wants intention." And she placed her hand down. Light filled the chamber, not bright total. It erased shadow, matter, thought. For 12 seconds, no one inside remembered who they were. When they came back, the pedestal was gone. So was the reflector. In its place, a door, one made of shimmering air. Beyond it, green, lush vines, trees not seen on Earth for millennia, and a sky with no sun, just light, ambient and eternal, a perfect biosphere underground, but untouched, pristine, as if it had been waiting for someone to tend it. At the garden's center, a pool. At its bottom, a single glowing seed. When exposed to the surface, it stopped glowing. But underground, it pulsed. It reacted to thought. Researchers now believed it wasn't a seed in the plant sense, but in the cosmic one, a Genesis core. In murals surrounding the garden, the Ankari appeared again, always faceless, always watching. Their final act, as depicted, wasn't destruction but containment. They gave up form. They merged with the structure itself. They became the pyramid, guardians of knowledge and of restraint. Then, without warning, the walls lit up. Symbols counting down. No unit of measure. No instructions. Just a number, dropping by one every 12 hours. From 144, then 143. The team speculated. Was it a warning? A signal? Or an invitation? Above ground, strange things began happening. Animals migrated toward the pyramid. Clocks malfunctioned. People reported dreams of black stars, rising pyramids, a voice saying, "Choose well." Not nightmares, more like instructions, as if something beneath was reaching out. Other sights began to resonate. A stone circle in Turkey hummed. A temple submerged in the Pacific briefly surfaced. Deep sea sensors off Japan caught subsonic tones matching those beneath the pyramid. It wasn't an isolated event anymore. It was planetary. Governments panicked. They dispatched black site teams, locked down the dig. Communications blacked out, but it was too late. The story had leaked. And across the world, people were drawn to it, to the mystery, to the idea that humanity had just triggered its next phase. The countdown reached 101, then stopped. No more pulses, no light, no changes, just stillness. For 3 days, as if the pyramid was waiting. But for what? On the fourth night, everyone within 5 kilometers heard the same sound simultaneously. Not with their ears, but in their minds. One word, repeated 3 times. Each listener wrote it differently, but all agreed on its essence: return. Dr. El Nur, now changed in ways no one could explain, stepped back into the throne room. Her vitals surged, her voice deepened not like possession, but like unlocking. She sat. For the first time. And this time, the throne responded. The pyramid structure shifted. Plates moved, not chaotically but rhythmically, like choreography. Each layer receded, revealing concentric rings of copper, obsidian, and crystal. The apex opened fully, beaming a narrow light into the sky. Not light, though, a signal. For 7 seconds, a second sun appeared in the sky, visible worldwide. Then it vanished. Scientists claimed it was a plasma event, but no records remained in satellite memory. Except for one, burned into El Nur's retina. A symbol, circular, infinite. People across continents began reporting shared dreams, memories of places they'd never been, of standing at the base of titanic machines, of skies without stars. It wasn't mass delusion. It was a download, a shared file, being delivered to the human mind. Back at the site, a new scroll emerged from beneath the throne. This one, legible, a star map, not of where we are, but where we're meant to go. A course and a warning: do not ascend unready. On the 50th day, the pyramid closed, sealed. The aperture vanished. The stones returned to silence. The throne, inert. Whatever had been started was done. The countdown never resumed, because the decision had already been made. The garden faded. The stairs disappeared. The seeds stopped glowing, but those who had entered something in them didn't fade. They began to see things, feel connections, as if the pyramid left a residue, a new layer of perception. Not everyone wanted the knowledge. Some wanted to use it. Secret groups formed, some to protect the truth, others to bend it. Wars didn't begin, but ideologies did, about who should sit on the next throne and when. Months later, El Nur vanished. In her Placia child, found at the base of the pyramid, unrecorded birth, no known parents, but bearing the same mitochondrial anomaly. She never spoke, but everyone near her felt calm, as if she knew everything. On the solstice, the pyramid pulsed once more. Not light, not heat, just awareness. And, across the world, thousands of people stopped mid-step, looked up, as if hearing the same tone. The pyramid may have sealed, but its reach had only begun. Digital systems across the globe unlocked files no one knew existed. Blueprints, equations, cures, ideas for propulsion, for longevity, for balance, gifts or tests. Left dormant, waiting for someone to press enter. Scientists discovered dozens of smaller sites echoing the same architecture from Antarctica to Bolivia. They weren't duplicates, they were components, as if Earth itself had been seeded with a network. And the pyramid was the server. Then came the final anomaly. In the far infrared spectrum, an object moving beneath the Sahara, gigantic, slow, and heading north. It wasn't alive. It wasn't a vehicle. It was architectural, like a second pyramid, underground, and it was waking up. The final report from the expedition said this: "We were wrong. This isn't the beginning. It's the middle. We activated one key, others remain, and whatever we contact next won't be asking us questions. It will expect answers. A monument with no door, a throne with no ruler, a signal meant not to summon but to prepare. We thought the mystery was in how to get in, but it was never about entry. It was about invitation. So if you ever stand in silence beneath the shadow of something ancient, listen, not with your ears, but with what remains when silence ends. Because maybe, just maybe, the next pyramid won't wait to be opened. It will open you." Thanks for listening. If this story captivated you, please hit subscribe, share it, talk about it, or you can drop your questions below. I'll be back to check them later. Thanks, and see you in the next episode.